Hello, ChatGPT.
Hey there, how's it going? What's on your mind today?
All right, today we would like to talk about hypertension, but I'd like you to explain it to me as simple as possible. Explain it to me like a layman and use any analogies that you can, any simple stories. Make it funny.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that. So imagine your blood vessels are like garden hoses and your blood is the water flowing through them. Now, hypertension is like when you turn that water pressure way up too high and the hose is under a lot of strain. Over time, that pressure can cause damage to the hose, or in our case, the blood vessels, and that can lead to all sorts of complications. We can definitely dive deeper into that and keep it fun and light.
All right, let's keep it fun. I like the garden hose analogy a lot. So, can we use that to explain the symptoms of hypertension? How do I know I have hypertension? But explain it using the same garden hose analogy.
Absolutely. Let's keep that going. So, if we stick with the garden hose analogy, when the pressure in the hose is too high, you might start to notice some signs. For example, you could have leaks or bursts, which in our body would be headaches or nosebleeds. Another sign could be that the hose is getting a bit stiff or less flexible. And in the human body, that can translate to things like dizziness or blurred vision. So, the body's way of telling you that the pressure is too high can show up in pretty similar ways to those garden hose issues.
That's quite brilliant, using the fact that the garden hoses can burst and also can get stiffened. That's quite brilliant. That's quite brilliant. However, hypertension is said to be a silent killer. Why is that the case?
Great question. So, when blood pressure is high, it can cause damage to the delicate blood vessels and organs like the kidneys. Over time, that damage can reduce the kidney's ability to filter waste and excess fluid, kind of like a clogged filter in a garden hose. That's why hypertension is often called a silent killer, because you might not notice any symptoms until there's already significant damage.
Oh, right. That's well explained. So let's now talk about the management of hypertension. Can we manage a hypertension? Can you explain that very simply to me as a lay person? Use any stories you can, make it fun.
Of course. So managing hypertension is kind of like maintaining that garden hose so it doesn't burst or get damaged. First, you want to keep the pressure at a safe level, and that can be done by things like eating a balanced diet. Think of it like making sure the hose isn't kinked or clogged. Also, regular exercise is like giving that hose a nice smooth flow, keeping everything flexible. And then there are medications, which we can think of as little pressure regulators that help keep the flow just right. So it's all about balance, maintenance, and consistency to keep that hose and your blood pressure in check.
Beautiful, beautiful. So now let's make it fun. What are some of the myths you know about hypertension? Can you give them one by one and let's discuss?
Absolutely. That sounds like fun. So, one common myth is that hypertension only affects older adults. In reality, it can impact younger people as well. And it's not just an age related issue. We can definitely dig into more myths and debunk them one by one and keep it engaging and fun along the way.
That's quite interesting. Why do people think it only affects the adult, the aged, but I mean actually it affects the kids as well or younger adults as well?
Yeah, it definitely is a common misconception. A lot of the time, people associate hypertension with aging because it tends to become more common as we get older. But factors like genetics, lifestyle, diet, and even stress can cause hypertension in younger adults and sometimes even in children. So it's definitely something that can affect anyone, not just the older population.
That makes perfect sense because hypertension does really have a genetic component or hereditary component. So it makes sense that it can appear or manifest in younger adults as well. What's another myth that you know about hypertension?
Exactly. Genetics play a big role. Another common myth is that you can always feel hypertension, like having obvious symptoms. In reality, hypertension is often called the silent killer precisely because it can be symptomless for a long time. People might not realize they have it until it causes more serious problems. So that myth can lead people to think they're in the clear if they feel fine, which isn't always the case.
That's quite brilliant because feeling fine doesn't always mean you do not have hypertension. All right, what's another myth?
Another big myth is that hypertension only affects people who are overweight or obese. While excess weight can definitely increase the risk, hypertension can also affect individuals who are of normal weight. Factors like diet, stress, genetics, and even certain medical conditions can contribute as well. So it's definitely not just limited to one body type.
Brilliant, brilliant. All right, thank you so much for having this nice conversation.
You're very welcome. I had a great time chatting with you. If you have any more questions or want to dive into anything else, just let me know.